My guest today is a living example of why doctors, experts, and statistics don't have the final say in our healing. 2.5 years ago, Mark Allen Ruegg was told he had only a few months to live after he was diagnosed with a stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Today, he has defied the logic of doctors and is here to share his unbelievable story that will challenge everything you think you know about healing faith and what it means to fight for your life. In this powerful conversation, I sit down with Mark to unpack his mindset after receiving that terrifying diagnosis, the integrative approach that helped him go from terminal cancer to cancer-free, and the mindset shift that may have been just as important as any of his treatments. This is not just a cancer story. It is a conversation about belief, surrender, and resilience, and the kind of faith that can carry you through the darkest moments. Stay to the end, because Mark reveals the one insight that changed everything, as well as his healing recipe, both of which may change the way you think about healing forever. Mark Allen Ruegg, it is so good to be with you, brother.
So good to be with you, Hal. I can't believe I'm talking to you. We will get into it, but this has been very serendipitous.
Wow. Yeah. And I don't even know what you're like. I don't know the context of that statement, which is exciting. And I'm going to give full transparency. You and I had a call scheduled today to get to know each other. And I spent about, I always, if I have a call with somebody, I want us to do a little prep. I spent like 30 minutes this morning just kind of going, okay, who is this Mark that my friend Jeremy introduced us? And as I dug in, I'm like, I don't just want to have a call. And so I texted you, I go, Mark, can we turn this call time into a podcast? I would love to, yes, we're going to get to know each other, but you have a fascinating story, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. We have so much in common, life-threatening cancer, took an integrative approach to healing, didn't just trust the doctors blindly. And we were both recently on Heal with Kelly, which is, within a matter of weeks of each other. There's a lot of commonalities. So let's start here. For those who don't know what an integrative approach is, and before we started recording, you were saying that there's all this new stuff you've discovered that you're sharing now. So you know what? The floor is yours, Mark. You begin where you want to begin. And at some point, defining what an integrative approach is and the approach that you took when you were given, and you can take us back to that time. You're given this stage 4 cancer, you're going to die in 4 to 6 months. How did you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how we got here, and I will try to keep it as a Reader Digest version.
It's hard. I know.
It's hard, but dude, the reason I'm talking to you is 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Very rare pancreatic cancer. It's called a neuroendocrine carcinoma. It's high grade. A lot of times it gets confused with a neuroendocrine tumor, which is what Steve Jobs had. They call that an NET. Mine's an NEC. NETs are actually slow growing. There's different protocols in treating it. Mine, very high grade, very aggressive. They do what they call a Ki-67 to measure how fast the cells are dividing and multiplying. Typical, like a neuroendocrine tumor would be around 20%. Mine was greater than 90%.
What does that mean? What percentage? What?
So greater than 90%. So it was dividing and multiplying fast and spreading. It had already spread. It was a 4-centimeter tumor in the head of my pancreas. It had already spread to my liver and my lymph nodes. My first oncologist gave me 4 to 6 months to live. We fired him and we found a specialist for neuroendocrine. And out here, I'm from Los Angeles, California. I found there was one here at Cedars in Beverly Hills. And I go to see him and he's showing me my liver. It's basically black and white. It looks like zebra stripes.
Jeez.
And he's like, Mark, we're going to put you on 2 different rounds of chemo, a carbon platinum and a topicide, and we want to do this immunotherapy with you.
Yeah.
Now they did do a pathology report and they did some genomic and genetic testing to see, because this immunotherapy Tecentriq is to target this specific protein on the tumor called a PDL1.
Okay.
But my tumor actually was not producing that protein at all. There was 0%. So typically they would not provide immunotherapy in that case. In
Okay.
fact, my insurance denied it, but my doctor was able to work some magic and he put me on this immunotherapy. So I was
Now, why
doing,
did he put you on the immunotherapy if it was
he
supposed to
was,
target a protein that you didn't have?
so he was like, why not? He was
Okay.
like, it can't hurt. Let's just try it. So we were doing, so with my tumor, it was causing some pain. And he was pretty sure that the chemo would shrink it a little bit to help ease my pain.
Okay.
But basically, the goal was to stabilize it for as long as possible and give me as
Okay.
long as time as I could.
So
But
it
I
was
didn't
literally
want to,
just delaying your death. It wasn't to
pretty much.
save your life. Okay.
It was not to
Wow.
save my life.
Wow.
I'm
How
terminal.
old were
I'm
you at the
still,
time, by the way, Mark?
so this is 2.5 years ago. I'm at 54. I just turned 57.
Okay.
So maybe 55. And I mean, to me in my brain, I have a long life to go. I'm like, I still got things to do. And stabilization was not in my cards. That's not what I wanted. I wanted elimination. And but I didn't know anything. And they put me on this chemo regimen and I do my very first round and I'm at home and I'm on my computer. I'm sitting on this couch that you see me on now, and I'm
Yeah.
scrolling and somebody sends me this documentary called Heal.
Wow.
And I put it on. And I mean, you know this documentary, but I
Yes, very
mean, there
well.
are people on there like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Anita Morjani, and they're talking about healing.
Mm.
And I remember talking to my wife and I'm saying, babe, I'm like, my doctors, my cancer support groups, they're giving me 4 to 6 months. And they're
Yeah.
only talking about stabilizing my tumor. I go, these people are talking about healing, about curing. And I'm like, if I got 6 months to live, I'm jumping over here. And that's
Nice.
exactly what I did, Hal. I dove in heads first and I
Mm.
started to do as much research as I possibly can. And I
Yeah.
think I read more books in the last 2.5 years than I've ever read in my entire life. I'm still reading.
Sure.
And so one of the things that I gravitated to very quickly were two, really. I
Mm.
wanted to change my diet. You know
Yeah.
very well. I followed Chris Rourke and
Yeah,
Square
me
One
too.
Protocol. So I
Yep.
jumped in and I started following Chris Beats Cancer. I started doing my juicing every day, my 2 large salads. I eliminated sugar. I eliminated processed foods. I stopped eating meat. I'm from Ohio. I mean, I'm a meat eater. I loved eating, drinking my cocktails after work, all
Yeah.
of that done. And
Nice.
then I started to gravitate towards Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations.
Okay.
And I jumped in and I'm watching his stories of transformations on YouTube, and people are having these profound experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, we're going to do what they did.
Yeah.
And I'm like Googling what meditation are they doing? And there was a lot of them that were healing or claiming to heal from cancer that were doing this blessings of the energy centers.
Mm.
And so I downloaded that and my wife and I make this like our go-to. We're going to meditate first thing in the morning, last thing before bed.
Nice.
And we do this for about a month. And about a month in, I have this crazy bolt of energy going into my body.
Wow.
I am flipping and I'm flopping like a fish out of water. And I don't know if there's energy coming into me, if there's energy being released from me. It didn't hurt. So I just kind of allowed it to happen.
So, real quick, so was this during a meditation?
It was during my meditation.
And when you say your body was like, you were literally like flipping and
I could
flopping.
not control my body. It was just my
Wow.
head was going like my body. Was I thought I was going to actually flip and flop off the ground. I mean, it was intense, but
And
it
it was
wasn't hurting.
unprovoked, like it just all of a sudden.
I wasn't trying, and the more I released, the more it happened.
Wow.
And it was intense. And so I end up going to bed that night. I remember my wife was next to me and she's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "I have no clue." I'm like, "I don't know. I just went with it." And we went to bed that night. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up from what I felt was an explosion out my spine. It it exploded. I woke up. It was loud. It popped. It hurt. I screamed. I woke my wife up. She's like,
Whoa.
"What's going on?" I'm like, "Babe, I don't know. Something just exploded out my spine." And she's like, "Mark, you're dreaming." I said,
Yeah.
"Babe,
Yeah.
if I'm dreaming, it's the most realistic dream I ever had in my life." There was the brightest light. And the way I explain it was like those old Batman TV shows, like bam and
Yeah.
kapow.
Yeah. The
And I'm
kapow. Yeah.
seeing this light. And we talked about it for a little bit, and we went back to bed. And it was 2 weeks later that I was already scheduled for another PET scan.
Okay.
And at this time, I had my first round of the two different chemos and etoposide, or with the immunotherapy. And then I think I might have just had my second round.
Okay.
And we went in to have a PET scan. And how? The tumor was gone. There
No
was
way.
no more cancer in my body. The tumor was gone. My liver was clean. My lymph nodes was clean. It was insane. My doctors were mystified. And,
Yeah.
and I mean, so just to kind of put in context, my tumor was about 4 centimeters round. It was pressing up against my bioduct. It was making me go jaundice.
Mm.
And so they had to put a stent in, and it was a metal stent, but my body rejected the metal. I ended up back in the hospital,
Uh,
104-degree fever, infection. And so they had to replace it with a plastic one. The problem with the plastic one was it was going to have to be exchanged every 3 months.
oh man.
This was going to be my life. And
Yeah.
so my scans are coming back that it's clean. So I remember I was talking to my doctor, and he's the head of this department at Cedars in Beverly Hills. He's seen it all, he's done it all. And I'm like, "Doc, what are the odds of just taking it out altogether?" And he's like, "Mark, I'm sorry." He goes, "It's just not the protocol." He's
Yeah.
like, "If this thing comes back, there could be scar tissue if we take it out. We have to leave this in." He goes, "But I tell you what I'm going to do." He goes, "Just because it's not in the scans, I'm sure it's still there." And he
Of
goes, "I'm
course.
going to
That's
go
what
in."
that's what they told
Yeah.
me.
And he goes, "So I'm going in anyways. I'll take a look around and I'll measure it. And when you come back, we can discuss options and stuff." And I was like, "Okay." And he puts me under, and I come to, and I kid you not, how this doctor, he is jumping around like a kid in a candy store. He's telling all the nurses, he's like, "This guy's a miracle."
No
He's like, "I
way.
have never in my career seen a tumor disappear from the pancreas in my life."
Oh my
It was
gosh.
gone, Hal. It was gone. And I'm like, this is a miracle.
Oh.
Crazy things happen. And all of a sudden, I am trusting this idea of surrender. I am
Mm.
surrendering to this whatever is. And so I continued on my treatments because they didn't want to stop. But
Sure.
every CT, every MRI, I was clean.
Wow.
And this was going on. And so I was loving Dr. Joe. I go and I want to see Dr. Joe speak at this Lewis Howes event, this Summit of Greatness event. It was
Yeah.
here in LA, and I go to see him talk. And as he's talking, there was another speaker there, and his name is Rory Vaden. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar with
I was texting
Rory.
with Rory yesterday.
And
Yeah.
so he's on the stage and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for mission driven messengers.
Messengers. Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I have a message. I think I
Nice.
have something to share. And
Yeah.
so he's like, call this number. So I call the number, I go on and I'm talking and I join the program. Now, I am not a speaker. I am not a writer. I am a dancer in another life. My
Oh,
wife
wow.
and I have a small production company here in Los Angeles. I
Okay.
work as a child wrangler. I work directing children's on sets for commercials and print ads and all of a sudden I'm like in this world with speakers and keynote speakers and authors and I'm just going. I'm going wherever it's telling me to go and
How
I'm
long ago
just
was this, by the way,
following
that
the
you went to the Lewis Howes event, saw Joe Dispenza and Rory Vaden speak? How long ago was that?
Yes. This was right almost 2 years ago, almost two and a
Oh,
half
wow.
years ago.
Okay.
So I mean, I was literally my cancer was gone.
Yeah.
I was loving the meditation. He's showing up in LA. I just kind of follow these serendipitous moments and see where it's taken me. And so I'm working on this book with brand builders, and I'm starting to go through my methodology. And what I realize is that I have 7 main ingredients that I followed while I was healing, and I call
Yeah.
it my healing recipe.
The healing
And it
recipe. I was looking at it this morning. I love it.
and basically it's belief. You got to have a strong belief. And I believe that the belief is the foundation. It is the dough of the pizza. From there, it was meditation, spirituality, increased positivity, decreased stress, diet, and exercise. And when you put these things together and you do them on the daily basis, you create a a safety in your body, a place where healing can actually occur. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but what I realize is you cannot heal in fight and flight. When you're in
Yeah.
stress mode, those
Yep.
mechanisms shut down.
Yep.
And so
Well
I
said.
was keeping my body in safety. And then I just start following wherever I go. I go to a Dr. Joe event, and out of 2,000 people, he picks one person to get on stage and share their story. And it was me. And all of a
Wow.
sudden, people are contacting me and they're DMing me. And that led to being on Kelly's podcast, Heal with
Nice.
Kelly. And I'm talking to
Yeah.
her. And between those two, millions of people are seeing my things. Like I said, I am not, my wife is like, when did I marry an influencer? It's like, it's been insane.
Love
And
it.
so then I'm talking with my strategist because with BBG, they give you a
Yeah.
strategist. His name's Trey. He's good friends with your friend, Jeremy.
Aha.
And I had just finished reading your book, The Miracle Morning, and I
Nice.
started doing my savers. And I'm
Nice.
talking to Trey, and he's like, Mark, you need to meet my friend Jeremy. So I go on, I meet your friend, and we're talking, and I'm telling him my story, and he's like, "You got to meet Hal." He's like,
Nice.
I'm just gonna introduce you to Hal." And so we had set up this meeting kind of way back,
Yeah.
and since then, and so I was all on board. I was going to talk to you how you create a community, how do you
Mm.
do this book thing, these were all my questions, but then something happened. And how you're seeing me as I crawl my way out of a very deep, dark place. Because
Mm.
3 months ago, I get a scan back and my tumor's back in my pancreas.
Whoa. Whoa.
And there it is. And I'm freaking out and I'm
Wow.
scared. And I go and I go to my doctor and I'm seeing my oncologist. And he's like, and he's looking at all the good things. I can't see anything but the bad.
Yeah.
That's exactly where my brain goes. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then
Yeah.
he's like, Mark, he's like, nothing about you has been typical with this disease. Typically with my disease, he goes, it would, if it came back or when it
Yeah.
came back, it would show up in my metastases. So it would have
Mm.
showed up in my liver and the lymph nodes, and
Mm.
all of that is clean.
Okay.
There's a there's a 1.8, it's now like 2 centimeter tumor in
Okay.
my pancreas.
It's still every cancer survivor's worst nightmare, right? Like the fear is, oh my gosh, what if it comes back? I have, it's like a reoccurring fear for, I think, anyone that has survived cancer. Yeah.
And to be honest, Hal, I truly think it was the fear that brought it
Mm.
back,
Mm.
because
Wow.
all of a sudden I was doing these podcasts. I'm talking about writing a book. I'm going on this wave of all these things happening. And then about 3 months ago, all of a sudden, my brain started questioning all of it.
Wow.
Doubt started to creep in. Am I for real? Am I a fraud? Am I telling people the real stuff? Is this true? Did this even really happen? Is it coming back? And just all of the thoughts. And
Yeah.
they like a tornado, it came to me. And like I said, I went into a deep, dark place.
Mm.
And this is the serendipitous part, Hal, because I'm in that place and I'm sitting there and I'm depressed and I'm sad and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm listening to you speak on Heal with Kelly,
Oh, wow.
and I'm listening to your podcast. And all of a sudden you start talking about your new book. The I think it's the name of you, the miracle equation. Or I don't know if it's your new book, or but you
That's
start
my,
talking about
it's a
this.
previous book, but it was my, yeah.
Okay, but you start talking about the miracle equation. I never heard of it.
Mm.
And you said it's two parts. It's this unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. And I started to decipher this, and I'm like, you know what? I think my ingredients was the
Mm.
extraordinary effort. It
Yeah.
was getting up, making the juice, eating the salads, being strict, turning off the news, not getting on there, staying positive, meditating, being spiritual, believing. But I was missing the unwavering faith.
Mm.
I was missing this element. So if the ingredients are the thing, the unwavering faith is the oven that it all
Mm.
needs to go in and bake.
There you go. There you
And
go.
dude, all of a sudden I started thinking about that,
Mm.
and it started to bring me out. And I started to read Michael Singer's The Surrender Experiment again.
Love it.
And I've
Yeah.
already read it, but I'm reading it and I'm like, I'm just surrendering, because it didn't make any sense in my brain. I'm like, how can God set all these things up so divinely?
Yeah.
Everything was divinely designed, How? Everything was where I didn't set out for any of it. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, I'm speaking to people on podcasts, on stages. I'm writing a book. I'm helping people. So
Yeah.
I created this community. I don't know how to create a community. I got like, and I mean, it's nowhere compared to yours, but I got like 300 people from all over the world, and they're
Awesome.
talking. And then all of a sudden, I get stress test. My healing recipe gets stress test with
Yep.
this one tumor, and
Yep.
it fell apart like a fucking, like a house of cards.
Yeah.
And what it's teaching me is that I have to go back to the beginning. I have to go back to the basis
Yep.
and to the basics, and I
Basic.
have to build a much stronger foundation, much stronger belief. And it all stems back to that unwavering faith. And from there, I will build back my ingredients. From there, I will continue to do the extraordinary efforts. And it's already started to happen, How? Because
Mm.
when I was first diagnosed, I mean, everything was off the table. The only thing I was inoperable,
Mm.
I was terminal, and the best case scenario was to stabilize this tumor with the chemo.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back. And because it's only a small tumor inside my pancreas, there is an option of radiation. There's options of surgery. Now, I don't want any of that,
Yeah.
but it
Sure.
goes back to that old joke that I used to tell people with the guy on the rooftop with the flood coming in, and the neighbor comes by and throws him the life preserver. And he's like, no, I'm fine. God's going to save me.
Yeah,
And three
totally.
times the neighbor comes by with the boat and the helicopter, and the guy dies. And he's like, God, I thought you were supposed to save me. And he's like, I threw you a life preserver, a boat, and a helicopter.
Yeah.
What more do you want? And so if my radiation is my life preserver, then I'm going to jump on it. And this
Yeah.
is where it goes with the integrative approach.
Mm.
I'm not either or, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like, I need to do whatever is necessary. And
Yeah.
that's where the surrender comes in. And so, how? This is another moment. This is divinely designed. I was supposed to speak to you on the phone, and I almost canceled the conversation. I'm like, what am I going to talk to him about? I'm a
Mm.
mess. My cancer's
Wow.
back. But I believe it's part of it's part of the design.
Yep.
It's to make my belief stronger. It's to
Yep.
make my faith stronger. And from there, I will build. And once I know how to do that, I can share it with as many people as possible. So, anyways, I've talked enough. I'll let you
Yeah.
jump in with some questions.
No, this is
But
great,
that's
man, and I
my
can keep talking to
story.
you. So phenomenal. I'm so inspired by you, and you and I for sure. I same approach, very similar approaches. Like we discovered Chris Wark. Right? I mean, like so many. And for those that don't know Chris Wark, I had him on the podcast a few months ago. ChrisBeatCancer.com. He, right? It's this idea that it's not an either or. And the sad part is, I think if you go just the Western medicine route, like, I don't know about you, but I tested my doctors by asking them questions that I knew the answers to, and they failed time and time again. Like on, my oncologist, who's the best oncologist, one of the best in the world, which, probably means he prescribes more chemo than any other oncologist. I don't know how you get the award, but I said, what role does diet play in my my healing journey? And it was, again, I was asking him a question that I generally knew the answer to. And he said, it doesn't matter. As long as you do the chemotherapy, you can eat whatever you want. And then I would go to the cafeteria at the hospital, and I'd see these people on carrying their IV tower around with chemo going in their veins, eating cake and pie and drinking soda. And, and it's like sugar feeds cancer. That's one of the, right. So anyway, my point is that and then I reach out. So it's like just trusting the Western medical community that doesn't make money off of you doing all these natural, healthy things. So therefore, they don't put any energy into studying those things, right? And then the other end, which is like just going purely natural, I reached out to some of the best holistic oncologists in America, and they had said, Hal, we can't help you. You have to do chemo. Your cancer, I was given, a very short time to live as well. And it was like, they're like, you have to chemo, but let's do everything else. So for me, it's like, okay, it's yes. And I'm going to do the best of Western medicine and kill the cancer, but I'm going to do like to your point, read books and relentlessly research and implement every holistic practice that is, ever worked for anybody. And I love that you're talking about the Joe Dispenza success stories, because I think one of the most, people that are like in the matrix, right? They're ingrained. Like if the doctor and the scientist doesn't say it's true, and there's not a double placebo blind study, then it doesn't count. And you're a goof for listening. Or I think anecdotal evidence is one of the most underrated. Like, oh wow, like Chris beat cancer. Chris Wark has interviewed thousands of people that healed their cancer naturally. Like, you're going to dismiss it because no one studied them and wrote a paper about it. Like, or so anyway, you and I, again, we could go all day on this, but I love that.
And what's so important about those stories, I just want to cut you off for a second. What Chris Wark is doing with the interviews, what Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing with those stories of transformation, is the more you hear these people talk, the more you see that they are people just like you I, that we are all capable of doing this. The body knows how to heal. We
Yep.
just have to get it back into alignment, back into balance, back into homeostasis. And you can do that through diet. You can do that through meditation. And you can also do it through chemo can help. And it doesn't necessarily, but it's in that integrative approach. And why wouldn't you not throw spaghetti against the wall and
Totally.
see what the hell
It's your life.
sticks?
It's your life that's on the line. Yeah. It's not about, I'll try this for a little bit to see if it works. And then if I'll try, it's like, no, I'm going to throw especially when it's holistic and natural and builds the body and the immune system up. Like, right. Like, it's like, there's zero downside to, getting sunlight and eating healthy food and cutting out sugar and alcohol and unhealthy food, and so on. Before we go any further, I know we got just a little time left. Where can people get the healing recipe? Because I'm looking at it right now. There are 7 ingredients. I implemented all 7 of those ingredients to heal my cancer. And I want to show that or really highlight these 7 ingredients to me are how you heal cancer. Or if you're listening, you're like, well, I don't have cancer. This is how you make sure you don't get cancer, right? Because our environment is designed to give us cancer, whether it's, the toxin, there's just all the toxins in our environment, radiation, cell phone, electricity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, this healing recipe is something that every single person, 100% of people listening to this right now, I'm going to send this to my dad. I already downloaded it this morning. I'm looking at it right now. Where can people get the healing recipe?
So right now it's just go to my Instagram page, Mark Allen Ruegg. And on Instagram, you can click on the healing recipe guide. And it's basically a nice little reader digest of each one of the ingredients, why it works, why I believe it works, and how to begin to start implementing it into your life. And then from there, I have also a community that I'm starting if you want to get on there and talk to people. Because what you found with your world and your community is once people start to do these things and once they start to see a difference that it makes, now they start to share it. And that's the whole thing. And how I'm back, I'm doing my savers. I'm doing all of them. And it's changing my life. And I think the biggest change right now is that unwavering faith, creating that belief system that is unbreakable and trusting that God has a plan and surrendering to that fact. In fact, at 3:00 today, I am meeting with a radiation oncologist to discuss what's going to happen if I go the radiation route. And if I so be it, if that's where I'm surrendering to, but just between you and me, Hal, I am still under the belief that I'm going to go on that table into that MRI machine and they're going to pull me out and they're going to be like, we can't do the radiation. And I'm going to be like, why not? And they're going to be like, because we can't find it.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And here's the thing. Your first ingredient, which is belief, and you like, I call that unwavering faith, right? Just semantics, same thing, right? But that belief is the foundation. I believe that we do create our own reality. We do create our healing. And you mentioned that fear potentially brought your cancer back. I don't know, you probably don't know this, but after I got cancer, my good friend Matt reminded me, he goes, Hal, do you remember a week or 2 before you were diagnosed with cancer, you and I were talking and you were hot, you were just stressed and overwhelmed. And by the way, like my career was going the best it had been, but I was just so stressed with it and overwhelmed. And he said, and do you remember you told me that you had this feeling that some major adversity was around the corner for you? And so the power of belief. So whether I had that belief and I picked up on it or I literally created it, I believe we create our own reality. And so I love that that is the first ingredient. And I believe that you healed yourself, right? And using all the tools. So yes, you got a little chemo, but like you said, your doctor's like, that doesn't happen. You don't get rid of the tumor entirely, including all of the little tumors around the body. That doesn't happen. We've never seen it. And so people need to take control of their health, responsibility for their health. And Mark, you are a living example, and I'm so excited that you found Rory Vaden, who's one of the, that you are a mission-driven messenger, like that you're going to make an impact in the world. You have an amazing energy about you. You are, I know you said you're not a speaker, you're a phenomenal speaker, and so I want to tell people where to grab your stuff again in case they didn't catch it. Go follow Mark on Instagram, and it's Mark, M-A-R-K, Allen, A-L-L-E-N, and then Ruegg is spelled R-U-E-G-G. So Instagram, Mark Allen Ruegg, R-U-E-G-G, and then click on his bio, and that's where I found it this morning. Yep. I downloaded the healing recipe, and it's like a six page or 8 page. How many pages is it?
Yep. And it comes in at like different. The first one will come, and then the second one, and it's just you kind of sign up for the guide, and it's kind of steps you through, and then send me a DM, and I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible, but that's getting a little insane. But and if I have a second, because I think this is very important for your listeners, and it was so important for me, and I'm going to try to say it very quickly. But when I was first diagnosed, I read the book Radical Remission.
Me too.
And in that book, early on, this woman talks about how having a ceremony with her cancer to find out like why it came. And I did this thing. I turned out the lights, lit the candles. It was just me and my cancer. Why are you here? And very, very quickly, fear rose to the top. It was fear that brought it. And I had to think about it. And it was fear that I wasn't enough. I wasn't saving enough. I didn't have enough clients. I didn't have enough work. And so I worked on that fear, Hal. I released all of it. But the problem was I released that fear, but I didn't release fear. I replaced that fear with another, with the fear of it coming back, with the fear that I was telling people the wrong things. So this is the process. And Dr. Joe says this all the time. It's not necessarily healing the disease. It's becoming somebody who no longer has it. So instead of just working on healing the cancer, I'm becoming fearless, not becoming fearless of everything, but I'm fearing less. And so much of that has to do with the unwavering faith that you talked about. So how I cannot thank you enough for your words of wisdom, for your book, The Miracle Morning, and the fact, I almost will cry, that I'm sitting here talking to you, and not only are we speaking, but we get to be on a podcast where you get to share it with all your people. I'm truly blessed and honored.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Mark, I feel the same way. And I follow you on Instagram now, so I'm going to keep up with all your happenings. Everybody, again, follow Mark Allen Ruegg, R-U-E-G-G, on Instagram. Go get the healing recipe. And by the way, we got to get you the domain. Have you looked it up? Healingrecipe.com. I don't know if you have that yet. We got to grab that for you.
Yeah. No, I have it. I just haven't done anything with it.
You haven't set it up. Cool. Fair. All right, hey, everybody. Check out Mark on Instagram. Go get the healing recipe and take ownership of your life in every category. Healing is one category. And Mark, what you just said, which is not being fearless, where you don't fear anything, that's inhumane. Like fear is a part of who we are. But it's living. If there are two polar opposites of fear and love, it's visiting fear when it's appropriate and when it protects you, and it's living in a state of unconditional love 90% of the time. And for me, that's what my miracle morning, my morning bike ride, it's conditioning joy, love, gratitude every single day, and starting the day with that, so that's the energy that you're in and that you carry into the rest of your day. And when you feel fear, right, you get to wake up the next morning and revisit and reconnect and cultivate that love, that joy, that gratitude. So Mark, you are a blessing, brother. I'm so grateful that we got to do this today, and thank you so much. And can't wait to keep getting to know you and your work, and can't wait to have you back on when the book's out.
I love it. Thank you, Hal. Thank you for everything.
All right, brother. Take care.